previous Foreign Affairs Minister. Good evening to you. Let me put that question to you. Is Rishi Sunak right there? Should the UK be in this to the end when it comes to supporting Ukraine?
Michelle, good evening, and thank you very much for having me on. Look, I listened very carefully to the Prime Minister's conference speech yesterday, and I was absolutely, delighted to hear him reiterate Britain's strong support. Britain has been possibly Ukraine's greatest supporter from the very beginning. The Prime Minister mentioned being the first to give battle tanks and being the first to give long-range artillery with the Storm Shadow earlier on this summer, but we were also the very first, before the invasion even happened, to provide significant amounts of lightweight defensive anti-armor weapons, which were quite possibly responsible for saving Kyiv in the early days. I'm delighted that we are in it to the end. I would like to see the narrative change slightly, and I would like to stop talking about for as long as it takes to actually defining what victory looks like and saying that we are in this to help Ukraine win as soon as possible. The Prime Minister did say that he believes if we give the Ukrainians the weapons they need, they will finish the job. If everybody was as supportive as the United Kingdom has been for the last 20 months, I think this war might already be over, and it might already be over in Ukraine's favour.
Do you think they're doing enough, these countries, people like the UK, etc., to try and engineer peace talks to bring the conflict to an end?
I personally, nor do any of my Ukrainian friends, see any point in peace talks. Peace talks are in Russia's favour at the moment. President Zelensky has set out 10 very clear preconditions for peace talks. And the first one of those is that Russia takes its soldiers off Ukrainian soil and back to 1991 borders. We know that Russia is taking a severe beating on the battlefield, and that peace talks and freezing the conflict where it would be very much in Russia's favour. Russia would make any commitment which Russia would make, we know we could not trust, because they have broken every single commitment they have made in international agreements relevant to Ukraine. So unless Russia is willing to stop fighting and withdraw completely, there is no point for peace talks at the moment. And I think our government realizes that. There are others who are more on still pushing for peace talks, but I think the British government is very, very clear on that.
One of the former presidents of the EU Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, he has been speaking out today, saying that he thinks that Ukraine is corrupt at all levels. Countries are pouring in billions, hundreds of billions in total when you look at it all. Is Ukraine corrupt? How do we know that that money is going into the right places?
Well, the money certainly that the British government sends and the money that the American government sends, and I would presume others, is very, very carefully audited. So I am confident that we do know that the money and the armaments that we are sending to Ukraine is going to the right place. First point. Second point, Ukraine has a problem with corruption. I know. I worked at the heart of the Ukrainian government for 2 years, and one of the obsessions of the Ukrainian government was fighting corruption, and I saw very, very significant strides forward made in the time that I was there between 2016 and 2018. But I would point out further, the third point that I would make, I would point out further, every country has corruption, and we need not be too complacent or smug here in the United Kingdom or any other European country or North America. The problem is Western countries are tending to hold Ukraine to a higher standard than they do themselves. And my final point, Michelle, is that, accession to the EU is not going to happen overnight. It never was. And the Ukrainians are very, very clear that they still have work to do. Indeed, they continue fighting corruption, even in the teeth of a genocidal war being committed against their people. And I'm just looking at what their Prime Minister, Denis Shmyhal, said recently. Kyiv wants to put on the table a report that we are ready in 2 years, not immediately. At the same time, he emphasized the decision on Ukraine accession will take time for its approval. So the Ukrainians, are very, very realistic about this. So I read very, very carefully what Jean-Claude Juncker said, and he did not say that Ukraine should never join. What he said was Ukraine is not ready for accession overnight. I think the point is that Ukraine needs to provide the evidence to the European Union that it is dealing with corruption and it is making progress. And that I have understood and seen with my own eyes, and I'm in contact with Ukrainian officials almost on a daily basis, is being done, as I said, even in the teeth of this genocidal war. And the final thing, the current head of the EU Commission, Charles, the Irishman, sorry, I've forgotten his second name, that's good of me, but he said today also, he mirrored the
Cormac Smith, really, unfortunately, your audio is starting to break up there, but that was